Dynasty is one in the offseason. There are certain times a year where you can legitimately make moves that can win you a Dynasty league. We're seeing that play out now. Pre-free agency is a lot of that. And Dynasty 101, we've learned this, along the way as we've been, going on this journey of playing Dynasty fantasy football. It's not about hitting on talent. It's about hitting on
dramatic
value. And you're like, okay, here they go again with value. But listen, I mean, the pre-JJ McCarthy, the Sam Darnold trade, right? I mean, if you bought JJ McCarthy, if you bought him before Sam, I'm not trying so hard not to say it. If you bought JJ McCarthy before Sam Darnold was traded to the Vikings or signed with the Vikings, then you got an instant value win there. DJ Moore, if you bought DJ Moore before Ben Johnson went there, you got a value win there. DK. DK was a pretty good buy. He's going around the 7th round, and then you get him, afterwards. He's going now at the 5-6 turn. You see about a round increase in value. T. Higgins pre-contract. The contract really, I don't think him staying with Joe Burrow is a bad thing. If you think it's a bad thing, I don't know. 25 rookie picks pre-combine. Look how much the late first and early seconds, even mid-seconds, went up in value. The second-round picks are going 2 rounds higher than they were from a startup perspective. We've been doing startups all the way from the beginning of February till now, and man, have we seen all of these assets move up and down the board. And so you can win. Like from a value standpoint, especially from a portfolio standpoint, you can win your Dynasty League. And so, how do you do this? Like, we could talk about this all day and say, okay, do this. This guy's going to go up in value. This guy's going to go up in value. But each Dynasty team is different. We preach that a lot. How do you actually know which trades you should make for your team, which value shots you should take, which guys you should invest in? And really, it is all about knowing your archetype and about adjusting accordingly based on what your team is like.
Yeah, and I think there are really 2 ways that you can practically implement this right now. In the middle of March, this is the peak of Dynasty season right now. We're right smack in the middle of it. From pretty much now until your Dynasty rookie draft in May, after the NFL draft at the end of April, right? And the 2 ways that you can practically implement this now are through your rookie pick plan and your proven player plan. What do I mean by that? I mean the trades that you're making. I mean the moves that you're making right now, again, in the middle of March. And this starts with your rookie pick plan. Just because the rookie draft isn't right now doesn't mean you can't have a plan for what you're going to do heading into your rookie draft, heading into the NFL draft, heading into really solidifying all of these landing spots and draft capital for all of these projected players and prospects and their profiles. Rookie drafts need to be approached the same regardless of your archetype. Value first, team need comes second. So why does this matter? It matters because you need to focus on getting value wins through the draft. Value wins through the draft are more important than projected production from unproven players. I think we've exhausted this at this point, but it's so important for you to understand that when you're investing in rookie picks, you're investing in the value potential of not that player right now in March, but that pick.
The decision.
The decision that you're faced with, the market value of that specific pick once you're faced with making that decision in your personal league rookie draft. And I think that's the most important thing to understand is you're going to have so many Twitter truthers out there. You're going to have so many Twitter people. You're going to have so many professional scouts that have never seen, the inside of an NFL front office. And they're going to tell you that they know the stuffs. And they're going to tell you that they know who's going to hit and who's going to not. We don't care about the hits. We don't care about really being right about who's going to be a wide receiver 1, who's going to be a perennial wide receiver 2, who's going to be a bust, who's going to be an elite receiving upside running back. We can tell you what we think. We can tell you what we suspect. We can tell you the analytics on all of these players and stuff. And the analytics can be really helpful for you to make a guided dart throw and a more educated guess on who you think is going to have significant value upside, wink, wink, heading into the 2025 season, the 2024 season last year, right? And before that. So I think rebuilding and reloading teams really aren't going to be concerned with production. When you're talking about those archetypes, the 1-year reloads, the hard rebuilds, the future values with rebuild, contend, 3-year outlooks, I don't care about the production outlook for 2025 so much as I care about increasing the overall value portfolio of your roster. I think that's got to be the most important thing. Your most productive players are obviously, your most productive rookie prospects that end up actually being productive are obviously going to increase in value. But not all the ones that skyrocket up boards are the most hyper-productive assets. Case in point, Drake May. Jaden Daniels, you have Jaden Daniels, who's one of the more productive rookie quarterbacks, one of the more productive quarterbacks, period, in the NFL last year in fantasy. He obviously shoots up boards. That was a great, not only value win, but production win for contenders. The production was really just a bonus. You know what was a big, big value win? Was investing in Drake May, who was falling to the 6th round last year in Dynasty startups.
Huge value win.
A huge value win.
And question
in a lot
for
of
you.
ways,
what
bigger.
did he really do to merit jumping from the 6th to the 2nd round in Dynasty? What did he really do?
He showcased rushing upside, which was enough for him to skyrocket up boards, right? That's all it took. Contending teams are rarely relying on the production of rookies to be truly competitive. And I think that is kind of what we're alluding to when we're talking about guys like Drake May versus Jaden Daniels. If you're a contending team and you went and you took Drake May, or you went and you took Jaden Daniels, really, you can say you knew that Jaden Daniels was going to go off. But at the end of the day, it's only guessing, and we don't really know. What you got from Jaden Daniels was just a bonus. And it could have resulted in you winning your league. Congratulations, good for you. But again, that should be treated as a bonus. You want to be viewing these guys as depth bolsterers, guys that are going to help you increase your depth as you get ready for the 2025 season, guys that have flexible upside and long-term value outlook for sustained success. They're your long-term options. They're your developmental guys. They're the guys that you think have a potential to be your number 1 wide receiver, your number 2 wide receiver, your cornerstone wide receiver, to replace maybe an A.J. Brown who's 27 and a couple years down the road is going to be treated like an old veteran, crusty old wide receiver. That's just the way that it goes in Dynasty. Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze are kind of great examples of this last year. If you were a contending team and you overinvested, overpaid for those types of guys who were guaranteed to produce, mainly Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams, you didn't necessarily lose your league, but it's not like they won you a league. Right. Now, if you took the value fallers in the late first as a contending team, like a Brian Thomas Jr., a Brock Bowers, a Bo Nix, you took the best value because you didn't care about the unfavorable production outlook per se. You just cared about their draft capital, their team investment, and what their potential outlook could be based on their talent profile. Guess what it turned into? A bonus. Sometimes a league-winning bonus, like Brock Bowers. So hopefully that helps you understand, again, how we want you to approach your rookie pick plan heading into April.
Yeah, and just a general tip here. I'm just spoiler alert, and we haven't really talked about this yet. We're going to have a whole video on this. Anticipate the tiers in your rookie drafts. Don't lock yourself. We have a lot of people, in the comments of a lot of the most, common questions we get on the blueprints are, what should I do with the 109? I'm planning on going running back at the 109. I'm planning on going receiver at the 107. I'm planning on going Luther Burden at the 107. And we're like, okay, well, first of all, we have no idea. But second of all, we don't want to lock ourselves into a certain position before we even know what the value tiers are. And the value tiers are going to be really important for determining our overall rookie draft strategy. And again, you can select your preference within a tier, but you're really never going to let a value faller go past you. And we're going to, I have a whole 25-minute video plan for that later in April. And we're going to tell you exactly step by step how to make every decision in the draft. And, from a strategic standpoint, really never miss. And so, let's talk about what your plan should be based on what type of team you have on your Dynasty team, what your team archetype is, because it's really different. We talk about this. It's really the most important thing for making sure that you are making the right moves, that you are setting yourselves up for success and setting your Dynasty team up for success, is knowing what the heck your plan is for your team. It's being able to look 1 year in the future, and then 2 years and 3, and be like, what's my long-term plan, and then what's my short-term plan? Because you may be making short-term moves with a long-term goal. It's a lot of Dynasty is just that. But unless you have a complete view of what your team picture is, you're not really going to be making the right moves. While there can be overlap here, not all these archetypes should be targeting the same players. And we switch up our player targets for your teams depending on your archetype.
Switch up our buys and sells. Sometimes our buys for one archetype or sells for another.
Yeah. So let's start with hard rebuilds. I mean, rebuilds, you've got to be making the most moves, right? So it's the most important that you're active here. No running backs here, with the exception of the rookies as seen above. Again, you can't avoid. We get this question too. Do I avoid running backs in the rookie draft because I'm a hard rebuild and you don't want running backs? You can't. in a year where what's propping up the value, especially of late first, is the running back class that's coming in, you can't avoid them. There's almost no way to do it.
Right.
Even if you end up, saying, hey, technically I've had a wide receiver available in every tier, I've never really had a value fall, it was running back. I still don't think you make it out of draft without running backs, because even on hard rebuilds, the best shots in the 3rd, 4th round are running backs. Yep. And so outside of that, though, we might hold a running back, a contending running back, into the season to have some more leverage there, but no running backs. Build your foundation. We talk about this all the time, the 3 pillars, right? And we look at it on the screen and as a review, and I was boom, boom, boom. Quarterbacks, skip. Wide receivers, skip. Picks. I don't care about tight end. It's a luxury item. And running back, we obviously, like I said, we don't need them. Also for hard rebuilds, avoid any reasonable risk of significant volatility. And so a lot of times, which is it's running back at it, but also it's a lot of times that's with wide receivers and quarterbacks too. It's a lot of times we'll just say pivot to a safer situation. Yep. We give that advice very often because we don't want that volatility on our teams. And so, I think for a rebuild as well, you have to kind of analyze how much risk is in your portfolio as a whole. How much risk do you want? You can't be that aggressive. You can't, you can't be an aggressive investor as a hard rebuild in terms of you're playing with house money. You need to make a lot of trades, but you also need to have some level of safety in the assets that you're acquiring for your team. And that's really important. Target low risk, high reward assets. Again, the low risk part is important. Once you get a little bit more value, you can do the higher risk, high reward guys that we'll talk about. But I think for hard rebuilds, that gets us started. One year reloads.
Yeah, so with 1 year reloads, again, they're going to be kind of similar to hard rebuilds, a little bit more, we're a little more comfortable with you like holding some of those more productive guys that might be riskier because we want you to play the market on them, as opposed to hard rebuilds where it's like, don't even risk it. Don't even risk losing any more value than you already have. With 1 year reloads, you might even want to hold some of those guys as well. Avoid running backs. Again, very similar to hard rebuilds, but you can feel free to sell some productive ones mid-season. You can feel free to hold some of them. We've seen some 1 year reload teams that are like, they got such a steal in the early offseason for like a Christian McCaffrey that it's like, just take the deal now and go capitalize on the value win in August when we're expecting him to start and expecting him to play. And then people realize again, oh, he does have 20 point per game upside.
He should be scoring.
Yeah. And that kind of ties into really the best thing about a 1 year reload is we're entirely focused on just increasing the overall value portfolio and value upside of your team. And sometimes if you make enough trades in the off season, you could accidentally contend.
This is the Avery Huffman special. Almost every year, every single one of my teams, I categorize as a 1 year reload because I'm always just wanting to reload. I can't say I have any super teams. I don't trade enough for that. But I will reload my teams. And then last year, I think all 3 of the championships I won out of the 8 or 9 dynasty leagues I'm in were all teams that I like mid-season was like, actually I can contend.
You
got a couple assets and won.
Compete. And that's the name of the game in dynasty, and that's why reloads are really, if I were to define dynasty fantasy football like in one concept, it would be a reload, because that's how you play the market. That's how you accumulate value. That's how you avoid dynasty purgatory, which is no value, which is no ability to make or very minimal ability to make moves that you want to get value upside because you're so depleted to begin with. 1 year reloads, the entire point, the entire idea of a reload is to avoid that entire situation, get ahead of the game, anticipate that potential hard reload down the road so that you can elude it, so that you can avoid it, so that you can always just constantly have this mindset of wanting to contend as soon as possible without sacrificing the long-term outlook of your team. Wide receivers, quarterbacks, and picks, again, are going to be the primary focus. We want to make sure that we lock down those positions before we address anything else. Once you're addressing running back and tight end, we're assuming that you have enough value and enough flexibility, enough security to really truly contend.
And we say this, but we mean it. Like the best experiences we've had with our dynasty teams are the ones where we can actually sit down, establish what we want to do with them, what our team archetypes, what type of team do we have, what type of roster portfolio essentially do we have, what do we want to do next year, and then maybe the year after that, especially if you're rebuilding, and then what moves should we be making based on how good our roster is and where our strengths are and our weaknesses are. And so this is literally what we do on a day-to-day basis. We do dozens of these a day. We've done hundreds and hundreds since the start of the year even. happen. And so it's literally second nature to us is to find ways for you to improve your Dynasty team. You can get one of those for free. We do these team blueprints, all of them. Nathan and I personally sit down and review all these teams and try to come up with the best possible plan for you to do the exact same thing we've done time after time, which is just to increase the overall value of our team so we have enough to contend and win money, because money is cool. So you get the free the free blueprint with free infinite blueprint at flockfantasy.com/domain. Like I said, code domain, the annual Motherflocker 2 will unlock it for you. But link's gonna be in the description. We would love to take a look at your team and also love to just give you our opinion, even if it's not the same as yours. It doesn't have to be, hey, do exactly what we say. Here's where we think your team stands. Here's what we think you should do based on where we would categorize your team. A lot of guys have future value teams. We look at these, we get these a lot. It's typically teams with a lot of picks, depending on what their other assets are. But really with future value teams, it's continue to build overall roster value upside. There's that word again, upside, because with future value, we're looking at your team and basically saying, hey, we think you're contending next year. And you have probably a lot of draft capital, right? And so the upside is going to be really key here. We need a lot of value upside because we do need still some value increases. A lot of times our future value teams we're looking at them compared to the rest of the league, and we're like, okay, you're probably 7th out of 12, 8th out of 12 in your league in terms of overall value. And so with that being true, I think that, a lot of times we're just focused on a couple small value wins. You get a JJ McCarthy, you get a DK Metcalf, you get a Drake May year over year, and boom, you're right there. You're right there top 2. You really are. We see this all the time. But continue to bolster your foundation of future value, just like you do with the other two, quarterback, wide receiver, and then start filling your other roster holes maybe after that. Maybe later in the year as you get closer to contending, you buy low on some veteran running backs. Maybe you get a tight end cheap if one of them gets injured or something. Like Hawkinson has been a good example of that. But, for the most part, avoid older assets as well. But don't be afraid to take them on if the value is there early in the offseason. So we might tell a future value team. And people, we said this way back in the day and we just got completely trashed for it. It was such a foreign concept to people. Why would I go buy Alvin Kamara on a future value a team? I'm not contending. Why would I want Alvin Kamara? I'm not contending. Because you have approximately, if you're buying him early offseason, you have approximately 13 months to trade Kamara. And for at least 4, probably more like 5 or 6 of those 13 months, Alvin Kamara is going to be probably 25% more valuable than the price you just bought him at in January. That's why. Because again, we're really, I think you guys as a whole, as our viewers and listeners, our supporters, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job of wrapping your head around this now. Well, I see so many people on our Discord just playing the market over and over and over. And then it's a 2-step thing though. It's play the market, flip, and then learn how to flip your value. And if you can do both those things, which it's easier to do in a more active league, then it works out usually pretty well. But again, for a future value team, it's all about upside. It's all about continuing to build that last year value as we get closer to contending the next year.
Yeah, and then the next archetype we have here is dual elite QB. For 1 QB leagues, it's more like elite QB tight end. You're essentially going for your core foundational position at quarterback, and again tight end if you're in a 1 QB format. But start addressing positions of need at wide receiver, running back, tight end, and superflex formats. Those are going to be the positions that we would assume if you've got a dual elite QB. If you have a lot of your value at the quarterback position, probably need help to bolster those other positions, wide receiver, running back, tight end, the skill positions. You're going to need to bolster those, get some really nice flex options so that you can actually have the ability, the comfort, and the flexibility to have a lot of pieces that you can plug and play any given week during the season outside of just your top 2 quarterbacks. Don't be afraid to target discounted productive assets if the value is there. The best thing about a dual elite quarterback build is that, number one, you have a ton of value at the quarterback position to down tier, still maintain your dual elite quarterback archetype and build while bolstering other positions. You also have a lot of insulation at the quarterback position. If you have 2 of the top 12 dynasty quarterbacks, 2 of the top 8 dynasty quarterbacks, you've got a ton of flexibility to go invest in low risk, high reward, productive veterans at a discount on March 17th, the day we're recording this. Like Avery said with Alvin Kamara, same thing could apply to Joe Mixon. Derrick Henry, CMC, even Chuba Hubbard, who's not even that old. He's a contract and stuff, but still viewed as a veteran productive asset. Those types of guys you can get at a discount right now, and then they're going to increase in value heading into the season. If they don't produce, you're out a early second round pick in terms of, like rookie draft capital. And as a contender, that's a price that you're willing to pay for immediate guaranteed production at the moment. Be prepared to down tier from one of your top QBs, as I already mentioned. That's really going to help you kind of bolster running back and wide receiver. But make sure above all that you're really solidified at quarterback and wide receiver primarily. Again, those foundational positions, make sure we're solidified there before addressing any other position. I would rather you go from being a dual elite QB team that's a rebuild contend that works on bolstering wide receiver for 12 months before being a kind of semi-contending team that you don't really know what you're going to do. You're really short on wide receiver value, and you go and you invest in a ton of running backs before you're really secure at wide receiver, right? We don't want to just go balls to the wall and invest in productive running backs for no reason. We want to be really systematical.
Systematified.
Right. We want to be strategic with how we're going about that in the offseason, make sure we're smart, make sure we have the foundational value necessary to go out there and have the flexibility to go get those productive running backs.
Yeah, a wide receiver factory. I love this team archetype. It's becoming my favorite startup draft team archetype because I think you just have the most flexibility. But also, I look at the teams where I walk out of a startup draft, I don't have a lot of wide receivers, and for some reason I look at them and I just don't like them as much. I think having a wide receiver factory team puts you in a really good position. But you're gonna, again, if you're looking to contend, which a lot of these wide receiver factory teams are, you're gonna start addressing positions of need. Your quarterback, obviously, make sure it's okay. With a wide receiver factory team, you can honestly go cheaper quarterbacks like say a Goff-Dak combination. A Baker Purdy combination, and you're okay with that. If you have a wide receiver factory, typically you don't have elite QBs as well. You typically are getting close to an elite value if you do. But start addressing those positions in need, especially as we're going to get closer into the season. Keep playing the market. I think there have been some pretty good market plays recently. I think after the draft there will be a couple more good market plays. Into training camp, you're going to be playing the market there. But try to get try to target some discounted productive assets. And we've already kind of passed a period of time where you can do that. I do still think there are a lot of productive guys that are cheap right now that you can get in later rounds. I think Devontae Adams is still cheap. I think he's a good guy for, he's a wide receiver, but I think he's a good asset for wide receiver factory's own. Aaron Jones just got the extension. I feel pretty comfortable having him on my roster next year. And I don't think he got a pretty big value bump there. So be prepared to down tier from one of your top wide receivers there to bolster your positions in need. A lot of times a wide receiver factory, you've got Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Drake London, and you've got Garrett Wilson. So it's like, okay, I love it. But, at the same time, would you need to have some kind of production advantage at other positions as well? And so I think you need to be prepared to do that. And then, like Nathan said with the last one, make sure that your quarterback, your wide receiver is solidified before you address running back and tight end, because we do want to make sure we have the value and the value insulation to make moves and not just dump all of our wide receiver value that we love and cherish into running back, and immediately it goes down the drain as soon as the season starts and somebody gets hurt. So, even if you have to down tier from your existing running backs, tight ends to solidify that, I think it's a move to make. Wide receiver factory, though, you're sitting with a lot of flexibility at the moment, and it's really just all about like picking up these productive assets that are going down in price. So I like the wide receiver factory.
Well-rounded teams are some of my favorite teams to do blueprints on in the early mid-off season like this. Because really all trades and all types of trades are on the table pretty much at all times for this archetype. You can and should get better anywhere you possibly can. And that includes draft capital if it's lacking. If you're a higher end, well-rounded team and it benefits you to go invest in a pick or two, whether that's this year, whether that's next year, go ahead and do it if you have the flexibility and ability to do that. But with well-rounded teams, I would be prepared, very similar to like a dual elite QB or a wide receiver factory. If you have just a dominant quarterback room, you can move off of one of those quarterbacks down tier to a lesser guy so that you can bolster other positions. Same thing applies here, but it's pretty much any position where you have like one of those top tier players. Sometimes it's just beneficial as a well-rounded team to down tier from Amon-Ra St. Brown to Drake London plus. It doesn't mean you down tier from Justin Jefferson to DJ Moore plus a bunch of veteran junk, right? You don't want to down tier too far, and you don't want to sacrifice too much production upside when you're down tiering. What you want to do is that plus on top is going to be a productive plus. It's going to be a productive premium to bolster whatever area of depth you really need to address. And again, You want to make sure that you're not down tiering too low to a point where you're sacrificing a significant amount of potential production upside or even production insulation to an extent, right? Like I would categorize Drake London as a pretty safe, productive wide receiver for the foreseeable future. That's going to be a pretty decent down tier target from one of those higher end wide receivers. I'm probably not going to want to go much lower than that. If you're down tiering from someone like Nico Collins, I probably don't want to go much lower than AJ Brown right now, because their production outlooks are relatively similar. So keep that in mind as a well-rounded team. You're probably going to have to down tier from some of those top guys just to really raise the overall production upside of your flex spots primarily. That's generally where I see a lot of the shortcomings for well-rounded teams. There's give and take with every single one of these archetypes. You obviously sacrifice one thing versus another with all these builds. You know, with dual elite QB, you don't have depth need at that position. With wide receiver factory, you don't have depth need at wide receiver, but you have a ton of need at one position, generally one specific situation. Same thing applies to well-rounded. You don't have dire need generally at any position. You just kind of need a little more security across the board.
Running back heavy. We don't see what's going to last, so I'll be quick. If you have enough running back value, which this would be like a Bijan, a Gibbs, a Saquon, a Chase Brown, like you just stacking running backs. Let's start addressing your other positions and making sure you're all good to go to contend there, depending on what your starting lineup settings are, and then try to repurpose your running back value to bolster your foundational pieces like quarterback, wide receiver. Again, we just want to make sure we have our value in good places. We don't want all of our value in running backs for sure. And then take us home.
Elite value. It is truly as simple as this. Elite value, you have the best value in your league by far. It's not the best value like, oh, I'm the number one graded team and I've beaten everybody else by like 5 points. It's like you have the best of the best pretty much at every single position, and even with picks a lot of times. As simple as this: get the best players at every single position and win your league. So there's no reason to not.
So hopefully, you know, that makes sense. All of you, a lot of you guys listening have already gotten these archetypes, so you can kind of apply this directly. And again, if you'd like Nathan and I to look at your team, tell you what we think your archetype is, and then also help you, you know, get a 3-year outlook, get some moves that are going to increase your dynasty team's value during the off season, especially before we get to next season. flockfantasy.com/domain. Like I said, you get that team blueprint. You also get infinite blueprint, which is an update. It's really good for these teams that need to trade a lot. It's an update on your blueprint every single month. So it's basically 12 blueprints for the price of one. And you get it for free with the annual Motherflocker tier with code DOMAIN, because we want you guys to join the community. I want you to have the Discord as well. Make sure you're dropping all your trades in the Discord as well. I think it's a really good tool. But we appreciate you guys watching. Drop a like if you enjoy the strategy videos for sure, man. And make sure you're subscribed, obviously, if you haven't already. But we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you later.